But I don't really have any concrete travel plans because I'd like to do some more like things that are not just a weekend, but like long weeks and stuff. But work gets in the way, so that would be like my goal in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, go for it. Just pick someone.
Trying to find someone. Smiley.
Oh, hello. I am planning on doing a lot of everything. I travel across country for work, and most of the time I'm driving alone. And I do go by a lot of provincial parks and all kinds of opportunities. So I'm just kind of getting ideas from everyone to see what everyone's up to, and I can, take those ideas and possibly go out and do them. So,
Sweet.
oh, I have to. Has Matt gone yet? Matt.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this year I'm hoping to find a job that lets me keep canoeing more. Because as you guys will hear when I'm talking about my experiences, that's what I'm really into. Spent a lot of time in Algonquin, so I'm really hoping to get back into doing some portaging. It's gonna be fun. All right, and I'll throw it to Emma.
Hey, so this summer I'm gonna be working really, really close to Gatineau Park, like 5-minute drive. So I'm planning on doing a lot of things in Gatineau. And then for the next 2 years, I hope to actually be studying in Europe. So if any of you guys have like gone to like the Alps or anything like that and have any tips, that would be wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma.
I have to pick someone, sorry.
Yeah.
Madeline.
I think that was me. I think for me, kind of hoping that COVID behaves is in 2 years after I graduate, doing kind of a series of, well, a month long or like months plural long backpacking trip in New Zealand. But since that would be my first kind of solo adventure, doing kind of shorter trips in the meantime. Not sure what yet, but yeah.
Right
I
on.
think Olava.
So for me, I would say, yeah, I also don't have any really concrete plans just because like COVID and everything. But I'm planning, I have like a lot of different kind of ideas floating around in my head. One was I have a lot of friends in like just scattered around the US and around Europe. So I was thinking of doing like a couple road trips and just like traveling everywhere. And then in Europe, I really want to just like go to the mountains and see different areas with friends. So just looking for lots of good ideas here. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Olava. I think there's only a couple people left to pick from, so go for it. I think Erica and Ashley are left.
I can go. So I've done a lot of like group backpacking trips, and so I want to try just going on one solo. That's my plan, hopefully for the summer.
Nice. Are you planning to be local or go to a different province maybe? Not sure where you are, but
I think I'm gonna stay in Ontario, but I mean, we'll see.
cool. Thank you. Erica, did you go? No.
You guys saved the best for last.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I really want to go to Iceland this summer, but obviously that depends on the world. I'm in the Czech Republic right now, so if Iceland doesn't work out, I'd love to do a road trip to Slovakia or Slovenia, or Austria, the mountains somewhere. And then when I do get back to Canada, I kind of want to copy the trip that Adib did last summer that I'm sure he has lots of stories about lined up for today, and kind of explore the national and provincial parks of the Rockies in Canada. Yeah.
That's about like 500 of them. Yeah.
I'll do all of them.
Yeah, I wish. too many plans, so little time, right? Well, thanks everyone for sharing. That was like an icebreaker. I've been trying to mix up the icebreakers because I've done so many of them, running out of ideas now. But
We all got Zoom fatigue.
I know, yeah, that ding dong just resonates. Well, I've done quite a few solo day trips, like around town, and like a little drive from town, and also traveling and like adventuring, which are multi-day. So I put together just before this chat, like some bullet points that I feel like are on point that I wanted to share. I'm not the most experienced person with solo trips, but you know, I can just do it. Can you guys see the, yeah. All right, so number one, you'll never know if it's for you unless you try it. I mean, people just start like thinking about it. Will I like it? Will I not? Will I don't know, meet people? Or I think it's just, you have to go and see if it's for you. It's not for everyone for sure. Some people go and realize that it's not for them, but they went and they realized that it's not for them. And it's always fun to be with people. Like if you're not planning going on solo, maybe you want to go more like on group trips. It's always fun to have people around. But if like you've been thinking about this plan for like 2 months and then someone canceled, just do, like, it's nice to be confident to do it yourself. That's what I meant by the first point. Try it. Maybe you'll find that it's for you. It's not. Maybe like a one-nighter is just your tops. So you have to get yourself out there to know if it's for you. And then go easy first. Maybe as I think Madeline was saying, she's planning a trip maybe in a few months, or it might be in a few years. Who knows? But like break the trails in, and you can go by yourself to small little trips or small trails and see, okay, do I feel safe by myself even though home is like 20 minutes away? Or should I pick a place to go solo to which has more people than what I saw here? Because as you know, some parks are super, super busy, that you come across people all the time, so you won't feel that you're not safe. But for some of them, you might not come across anyone like for a while. If you've been thinking about it too much, just do it. Like for me, this applies to anything. If you've like thinking every day about this new t-shirt that you want to buy, just buy it. You're going to be thinking about it for the whole year. Like if you want to go on that trip by yourself, do it, but go easy first. So this goes to the point before. Next one, be confident, do research, don't listen to what other people tell you. Be confident as in, I mean, if you have a tent that has like 5 holes in it, I won't be confident with that. But be confident with yourself. And if you've done a lot of trips with groups and you've been, let's say, leading new people into camping, that means you probably can lead yourself by yourself without supervising other people. Do research as in like for the weather, for safety, for the animals that could be around. Where's the nearest hospital, let's say? What gear do I need? Do I need special gear? So you do need to do a research. What kind of communication? How far is it from home? Do people know where I am? Did you leave something behind at home so people know where you are? It's always important just to know what you're putting yourself into and not going blindfolded, but be confident with what you did. And with like in moments of doubt, you can ask someone or get tips from someone else. Don't listen to what other people tell you. Well, if they haven't done it, they're gonna tell you it's hard and you won't survive and like a bear will eat you and whatever. And you might go and come back and they say, oh, I told you so, if something happened to you. But like to me as well, that's something that will just keep you from not doing it. If somebody like, no, it's hard, or no, don't do 12K a day or whatever it is. Listen to people who've done it, or people who support you and say, yeah, like, go for it. I don't know, I'll check in on you every day or something. Most of what you overthink is usually excuses. This applied to me when I didn't have, let's say, the proper gear to go, or like I invited people to go with me on this trip and nobody wanted to go. And in my mind, it would be, oh, nobody's going with me, I can't go. This is an excuse, to be honest. Or I don't have the proper tent for it. Well, if I manage my spending for the next 2 weeks, maybe I can buy a better tent. This is an excuse, for example. The next one kind of relates with the one before, the positive mindset. If you put in your mind, it works for me every time. I do believe in the law of attraction a lot. Like, it's been working for years. So if you say I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna meet people, it's gonna happen. But if something bad happened, let's say mid-trip, and you got all depressed, bad things are always gonna happen. Like, if it started raining, you're gonna be pissed and you don't have the proper clothing. When it's just positive mindset. What do you guys think about these ones? You like them? I was telling Emily before this, like, it's hard for me to express what I think about, like, clearly, to say, because I know we're all different and everybody has different things that they want to work on for themselves. Like, if you're shy, you don't want to go somewhere to meet people, might be hard. Or if you have a specific disability, you can go to some specific places. But there's definitely something for everyone out there, whether that's like close to home or far away.
And just for reference, Adib has like the most go-getter, full send attitude that you will ever meet. So just these tips are coming from someone who is all, the answer is always yes, the answer is always go, the answer is always do it, which I think is a great mindset to have.
Yeah, like, just do it. Yeah, there's this. Oh, I forgot to put one more, but it's kind of a bit far from what these talk about. It's about, like, when you say, oh, I didn't do something this summer, I'll do it next summer. Well, what if next summer never came? Like, there's no tomorrow. That's how people who know me know that I always like believe in the moment. So I feel like you want to do something right now, you have to do it now. What if you got in a coma for the next 6 months and you never did the plans that you wanted to do? You'll be remembered for the plans that you never got to do, instead of the plans that you really wanted to do and you did them and you had fun.
But also, if you're, for example, planning to do something like the PCT, plan for things like that. Yeah, there's kind of two sides to it. Like, yeah, do it, but also realistically look at your abilities and your gear.
Or not.
Just like, we don't want you guys getting hurt out there, but we also want you to push yourselves. But you really need to find that balance.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Like, if, let's say, like Erica mentioned the example of PCT, like, if you wanted to do it, there are steps that lead to it. So you have to go through these steps, which is part of the whole plan. But if you kept saying, oh, the PCT will always be there, I can do it whenever, or I can travel to Saskatchewan whenever because it's always there. Well, what if something else happened and you had to move to a different country? Let's say you would have never done it. That's sad, right? Anybody else want to add something? This is the only bullet point slide. We're gonna, I think the next one is Matt's experience.
Okay, I'll just jump in. So yeah, my name is Matt. As you guys can probably already tell, this is going to be a fairly informal meeting. So please feel free to jump in, any questions. You can either scream them at me, throw them in the chat. It doesn't really matter. I like to just like bounce off of other people with my experiences as well. So I'll just get into some of the stuff I've done. I spent most of my like younger life growing up in and around Algonquin Park, spending every summer there, spending as much time as I could. And in the last 3 years, I've been lucky enough to have this cool job on the left here that you see, which is basically being a guide and an outfitter for other people's trips. And that's been really cool because I've got to see other people in like every single stage of preparation and like skill level, try and do all these different types of trips. And I've gotten to talk to them one-on-one. I can tell when they're having a bad time, when they're having a good time. And I get to drive this cool gigantic truck on the bottom left-hand corner there that you can see. So yeah, just basically on the right, we got some stuff that I've done in the past. I've probably done, I don't even know, probably close to 100 trips in Algonquin in my life. Probably less than 10 of them have been solo, truly solo. So when I talk about kind of my experience as a camper, it basically comes majority from working with other people, learning from what they do, having all these cool people at my job tell me, hey, this is an awesome trip, you should go do that, but be careful because there's this waterfall here, etc. So yeah, if you go out and you do what Adib said, you basically try and have as much fun as possible. You're going to be able to do that. The only thing is you need to be prepared. So I'm going to talk as much as I can about stuff that helps me prepare for a trip. And if you guys have any questions, especially if it's to do with Algonquin Park or Killarney, feel free to just jump in, or at the end you can ask me as well. Even if it's just what's a good route, where should I go first? So yeah, we'll just switch to the next slide, Adib. So the first one here is just be prepared. When I say dry run every activity you'll have to do for yourself, I mean the ones that you're not thinking of as well. So I've got a picture of putting a canoe on a car here. If you're going on some sort of canoe trip, bike trip, etc., it's important and not very well like realized that you need to know how to do that by yourself. If somebody helps you put the canoe on the car at the beginning of the trip, and then you realize you're at the end of the trip and you don't know where the straps go, how to connect to your car, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble. So try and think through on a daily basis, start at the beginning of your trip, go to the end, and think, okay, what's gonna have to happen every single day? There are the basics like starting a fire and having safety equipment, but you also wanna just think of, okay, break it down hour by hour, or even less than that, just time, like as time goes on, what things are you gonna have to do? What are you gonna have to have prepared before you start? And then I've got a point here that says, understand that at some point you may get lost, so don't panic. I've been doing this for quite a while, and a lot of people that I've worked with have also been doing it, obviously, for quite a while. And we still get lost all the time. So that's not something you should be super worried about. It's just something you need to keep in mind. I can think of one example when I was on this lake where we basically went around the perimeter of the entire lake before we found the portage. We kept thinking, oh, that little spot over to the left, that's got to be the fork that we're looking for. And you can basically try and find something for hours, think that you're going to have a 30-minute trip on your hands. It turns into 4 hours. So just be aware of that and have a backup plan for your route. So if you realize that you're not going to be able to make it to your planned campsite that night, make sure that there's somewhere you can stop. Don't be starting fires where you're not supposed to, but it's better to just get off the lake and set up camp while there's still some daylight, especially if you don't have that much experience. So yeah, and then as far as being a solo camper, I've always found that the people who say they don't have very good experiences don't have some sort of hobby that they're happy doing at the campsite. It's important to not overpack for a trip, but if you bring 1 or 2 things that you really enjoy that you're gonna be able to fill up your time with, for me, that's reading a book or doing some photography, then you're gonna enjoy your trip a lot more.
You can get a beer too.
Get a beer, yeah, it's also a possibility. So yeah, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Every trip I've ever done solo, I've either done before myself with another person, or I've talked to somebody who has done it pretty extensively. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. Other examples of trail hobbies. So one that I'm not into, but I know a lot of people are, is fishing, nature photography. If you bring a book that, yeah, knitting, there you go. If you bring a book on fungus and cool like outdoors, that's exactly it. Mushroom hunting. Yep. Then you can go and try and find a bunch of cool stuff, take pictures of it, bring it back with you. Try not to feel like you're really bored. Challenge yourself, make a fire, try and cook over it. Don't use your camp stove. You will definitely fill up the time if you try even a little bit. Most of what you're doing, which is kind of fun when you're camping, is surviving. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's like you have a certain number of activities that you have to do in a day. Go to a place, get your camp set up really nicely. If you got extra time at the end of it, it's kind of a luxury. So yeah, just gonna check the chat, and I think I'm gonna hand it over to somebody else. Meditating, yes. Swimming.
Yeah, that's a big one. Thanks, Matt.
Sweet. Anybody have any questions for me? You can also ask at the end. So.
Yeah, feel free to jump in now before I move on, or see what's next.
The next person.
Oh yeah, pass it on to Emily.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit just about safety in the backcountry. My experience is more with camping as opposed to like traveling or doing something like through Europe. And also, so safety in the backcountry is totally dependent on wherever you are and what your activity is. So if you're doing something like hiking the PCT, or if you're down in New Zealand and you're like, I'm going to hike Te Aurora, those are different sort of game changers as opposed to doing like a little local weekend trip. Something from my experience that I found really important is that 99.99% of the time, people are really, really willing to help you. And these are typically people who are also out there to get outdoors. They know that there are risks associated with being in the backcountry. And if you find yourself in a gnarly situation, hopefully there are going to be people within some relative distance who will be able to help you. So unless you're really like, I'm going into Crown Land, I'm bushwhacking, if you're in relatively, populated areas of like Algonquin or other provincial parks, there will be people around, if not on your immediate lake. So I got in one situation a few years back where there was 6 of us, we're all in high school, and things started going bad really quickly. And one of the guys on our trip got beaver fever, which is where you're sort of tossing from both ends at the same time. And it became a pretty dangerous situation. In a matter of sort of like 2 hours, we went from everything being fine to having to decide whether or not we were going to evacuate him. And we made the decision to not. And so we ended up going down the lake while he stayed at camp with some of the others. And we were asking people for help. And we said, okay, we don't have Imodium. We don't have any, like we have Advil and Tylenol basically. And people were just more than happy to help. And they said, here, we have phones if you need, we have medicine, we have whatever. Please let us know if things don't get better. So I have never, especially as a woman, never felt unsafe because of the presence of other campers. Always trust your gut, right? Your gut is going to be your biggest indicator if something is not feeling right. But generally, these are families or pairs of people or friends. And I have never felt unsafe in all of my experiences, even if it's just me out there and there's, some other guy. Typically, these are all campers. So in terms of, I guess, animal protection, there's a couple different options when you're camping. Bear spray is a big one. First aid kits, know what's in your first aid kit, make sure it's up to date. That sort of smaller picture there with the bear muta triangle is just sort of good practice for when you're camping. You want to have a bear hang. So typically you want to hang your food 12 feet off the ground, 6 feet away from the tree so that the bear can't get it, and 6 feet down from the branch. So hopefully you're not in somewhere like Yosemite where they have just like crazy bears that are sort of professionals at taking down lines and getting your bear canisters. And you do want to be upwind from wherever your food is. So you don't want to have your food sitting in a tree and then the wind blowing that smell right through your tent, wherever that may be. You want to make sure you're nice and far away from that food source.
No midnight snacks in the tent.
Yeah, exactly. So there is a couple different options that people tend to use. When I go, I typically just use like a big neoprene bag, hang it, and I've never had a problem. People often use bear barrels with the idea that bears cannot get into these big metal things, even if they are able to knock it out of a tree or whatnot. The idea is that they can't get in. They also have things called op sacks, which are odorless sack. So the idea is that you put all your food in it, zip it nice and tight, and you can sleep with it. And I've heard of people using it with no problems whatsoever. I don't know if I'm keen to sort of sleep with my food beside me, but that's another option. In the backcountry, they also have things like GPS receivers. So that little orange device is called a Garmin InReach. They have spot devices, and these are for when you're out in the backpack and beyond cell service. So there, I know like Algonquin has a lot of places where you will not be able to get cell service if you're beyond sort of the main Highway 60 corridor. This will allow you to send texts or drop your PIN, like a notification, and your location to someone you need. It will also allow you to request emergency services. So if you really get yourself in a situation where you've fallen off a cliff, you've broken both your legs, and you need to get evacuated and you don't have cell service, this will be a really good way to do it. Also, knowing some first aid is a good preventative measure as well. So they have tons of wilderness preparedness courses, first aid courses. I think it all comes back to trust your gut and know your skill level. So knowing what terrain you're entering, knowing what you're capable of, and being able to make the decision that, okay, things are becoming dangerous, I need to leave, or I need to ask for help, or making that appropriate decisions. Going into the backcountry really allows you to sit back and rely on your own decision makings. If you're alone and if things start to go bad, it's up to you to figure out how to get yourself out of it. And most of the time, these are not going to be life or death situations. It's going to be, oh no, something got in my food bag. Now I don't have food for 2 days and I'm away from land. What am I going to do? Those types of situations where you should be able to figure your way out of it, create a plan. And that, again, all comes down to preparedness. Another good rule of thumb is just tell someone where you're going and leave a note in your car. So if you go to a trailhead and you park, even if it's just for a day, this is the time I left, this is the time I'm expected back, this is how far I'm going and on which path. And that's sort of just a precaution of if things go bad, people know where to find you. Another one, stay put. If you get lost and you realize you're way far off trail and you can't find your way back, sit, stay calm, and evaluate the situation. Better to stay in one place than start walking in some direction and get 20 kilometers off trail. So I think that covers the majority of it. Yeah, this wasn't exactly like backpacking in Europe kind of safety. It's completely different if you're hitchhiking. I would always say trust your gut. Don't get in a car, maybe with like one man. If you're a woman, look for families, look for couples, that sort of thing. But that's probably a whole different conversation.
I wanted to add on there, Emily, because it's really good points. But yeah, lots of people are looking to like cut down on things to carry with them. But one thing that you should always have at least 2 of is communication device and maps, like Emily said. So yeah, I never just bring a GPS or my phone. I always have a paper map with me as well. And I think that's a pretty general rule for any type of traveling. So
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And before I forget it when I share my stuff, you can, like when you're booking a site, you can always, like Parks Canada, so national parks and provincial parks in Ontario, I'm not sure about the other ones. When you book, you can see how many 10 spaces or how many people are going to be at the campsite. So you don't have to pick the site that you're the only one there. I did that myself. Like I went on, let's say there's 6 spots to be filled up. If there's 4 taken, I can take a 5th one instead of going to one that I'm the only one there. Having people around, they can, if something happened to you, they can find you on their way there, on the way back, or they can help you out if you need medication or any sort of thing. So, yeah. Anyone else like to ask Emily anything for now? Sweet. Let's see what's next. All right, so it's my turn. I've been in Canada for 3.5 years only, and I like getting out there just to see like what's around, and I'm trying to keep the momentum of going every summer somewhere else by myself. So I started up in 2018. I went to Quebec City for like 6 or 7 days. Didn't do any backcountry camping. I haven't that summer 2018, I haven't done any camping trips like at all. So I stayed in a hostel. This is something that you can consider for Europe, for any country. And now I have like a membership for the hostel I stay at. It's called HI Hostel International, and you can get a discount. Let me type it actually. There's a lot of them in Canada, like a lot. In the Rockies, there's like 15, 20 of them all around the Rockies, but by itself. I stayed at HI hostels in Quebec City, and I stayed when I went to Montreal, and in the trips that I'll be talking about. So I went there for like 6-7 days by myself. I stayed in a hostel, and I discovered the city by myself, but then I just started meeting people. And there was a lot of tourists that year. Met people like from all over the world, to be honest. One person, he was like from the Netherlands. When he visited Ottawa, he ended up like couch surfing at mine. British people came to visit Ottawa. I just showed them around, and it just, I think like what breaks the ice, just saying hello to people. But I'll share more about that experience later. And then in 2019, I went to Algonquin Park, also by myself. It was like in May, just 2 nights I did. And this was like my second time camping ever. I just realized it today. I was like, damn, that's crazy. And like, I didn't have half of the gear that I needed. But yeah. And summer 2020, which is the one just passed, I went to the area around the Rockies and the Purcell Mountains for like 10 days. It was 9, but then my flight got delayed like by a day. So they extended my trip by a day, which was cool. I couldn't find like the pictures were probably on my old phone. So I took this screenshot from like my Instagram account. But this is at the Jacques Cartier Parc National. It's not National Park, it's Parc National up in Quebec City. I met a guy the day before I went whale watching, and he told me, oh, I'm going tomorrow to Jacques Cartier. I was like, oh, I'm down. I was like, I had different plans, but they're just canceled. And it was awesome. This was like whitewater kayaking, and we did a few rapids. Like my second time kayaking or something, but it was cool. So this is in close to Quebec City, so no backcountry in this trip. I just went on to the city itself and walked around, rented a bike one of the days, and there was like a bar in the hostel, which was cool. This is 2019 when I went to Algonquin Park. On this trip, I forgot what the access point was. It's the same one we did last summer, Erica. I forgot, for Emily. But yeah, anyways, it was in May, so the park had just, like the snow just melted. It was there was a lot of bugs. I only saw a couple of people like 30 minutes into my trip, and then I didn't see anyone for the whole trip, which was pretty cool. Just finished final exams. I just wanted to be out there. Yeah, I did 3 days, so 2 nights at Algonquin Park, backpacking. I borrowed gear from PCOCC. I wasn't an exec back then. And yeah. This is from the same trip. I had a huge backpack. I had to take food for 3 days. It was a bit tough for the first day or two. I think I did 10K per day, 10 kilometers hiking. With my own tent. It was tent for 2, sleeping bag, sleeping pad, the food, the jacket, underwear, all of it, rope. Yeah, you know the deal. It was really cool. Following up on what Matt shared, if you wanted to do like a multi-day solo trip around here before you go far away, Algonquin Park is a really nice place, especially in, let's say, July when it's busy. You'll feel safer. And okay, so this one was this last summer. I worked over the summer, and then I wanted to be away from the whole province for like a few days before I get back to school. And I did it. I planned the trip. It was like a 10-day trip. Planned it in about less than a month. This is when flights were cheap, so I had the chance to go on this trip, flew to Edmonton, flew back from Calgary, and drove all this way down. I slept at a different place every night. So following up on the flights, since it was like Air Canada was just getting back on track and the flights were super cheap. So the flight there and back from Ottawa were less than $500 total, including taxes and everything, which was super cool. And then I rented a car for this one. I know some people responded to our questions in the stories on Instagram like a few weeks back for transportation. I rented a car. I found a cheaper company called Alamo. And it was funny because I booked it online and then I had to change something up. Then when I changed that something up, the fee for the youth driver was not there, which is like $20 per day extra if you're under 25. So I saved a lot of money on it because I had the car for like 10 days. So for the whole transportation, I paid less than probably 800 with gas, with everything. So it's cool. There's like a lot to talk about this trip. I don't talk about it a lot, so I don't know where to start. But yeah, I flew into Edmonton. I drove in, started at Jasper, moved in. This is Glacier Lake in Banff National Park. This is Lake Louise. This is Yoho National Park, Golden, BC, Bugaboo Provincial Park, Canmore, BC. And this is like a small town close to Canmore. I just wanted to sleep there to be close to the airport the next day, and then flew back from Calgary. For this trip, to give you an insight, because I was by myself and it was, August 29th to September 6th, which is like 9 days because August 31, 224 views. Can people see your maps like on Google Maps? Who's looking at my map? What the? Anyways, I did, because I was by myself, there was a lot of gear. I did one backcountry trip, one hostel night, one backcountry trip, one hostel night. Started here, HI Jasper, because I have a membership, Glacier Lake, HI Lake Louise, Twin Falls, and Yoho. Okay, I lied, I didn't do HI for all of them, but Kicking Horse Hostel, this is in Golden, BC. It's owned by a Scottish lady who's very talkative and has a cat. And then Bugaboo Spire Trail, I'll show you some pictures from that one. HI Canmore, HI Kananaskis, which is this one, and then Calgary. On the way back, I missed my flight because I was super tired. So they hooked me up with the next one. But the key was to stay relaxed and just talk to the person. I ended up not paying for changing my flight or missing it. Isn't that cool? It was amazing. I was like, it was 9:30. I showed up at the airport at like 9:10. Like, hey, I'm just checking in. It's like, oh, it's gone. Like, what do you mean? I need to go. It's like, let me make a phone call. I was like, okay, I'll go to the washroom and come back. Went back. He's like, there's a flight to Toronto, Ottawa. I was like, yeah, I'm in. But yeah, I can share this trip plan with you if you'd like later. From that trip, this is from Yoho National Park. Those are wet chairs from parks. That summer, I worked for Parks Canada, so I had a pass for like 10 parks for free, day pass. So I used that. And it was like the best trip I've ever done. Probably the best 10 days I've lived for. I can choose to live them all over again every day. But yeah. If you've never been to a hostel before, this is kind of what it looks like if you got like a room for 4. During COVID, they were operating in 50% capacity. So I stayed in like 4 nights in hostels. For all of them, I had like one roommate. For one of them, the last one, which was here, it's a wilderness hostel, HI Kananaskis Wilderness Hostel. It's like out there. It was like a room for 25 people. I was the only one there. But yeah. So yeah, this is the hostel. This is me on probably in Glacier Lake after the hike. This is the car rented. It's the smallest car on the market because it's cheaper. Yeah, one thing I would mention, like looking back at the rental process, when I went in, I had chosen to rent online like a bigger car, but then I showed up and he's like, yeah, this is your car. I was like, this is not what I asked for. So just talking to the person and being open to discuss this, like what I asked for and what I did not, and just be open to talk to people because you're by yourself. That's natural. It naturally happens. Like they ended up giving me $50 off, even more on the rental price, just because I said I don't like it. So yeah. This is from a different hostel in Golden, BC with a Scottish lady. It was a bit different, like it's a different setting because it's like a house. And this is on the road to the Bugaboo Provincial Park in BC, which is probably the best place I've ever been to. Like if we're talking about one place. So one thing I'd reflect on, since you're also by yourself, as Emily said, you'll have to do everything by yourself. You don't have to rely on anyone. And you sometimes you can't. You have to have all your gear with you and gotta buy your food. But the mindset is to have fun and enjoy what's out there, just every moment of it, even the hard times, and it'll be fine. This is on the hike up. And this picture Erica shared in the stories. This is up like 2,500 meters altitude. This was my tent up in the Bugaboo Provincial Park. And yeah, this was my experience. I didn't want to make it long. These are 3 experiences together. So if you need some links or tips and tricks for it, you can let me know. Yeah. Oh, it's Zenon is up next.
Cool. Hey, could I share my screen?
For sure. Go for it.
Okey-dokey. There we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So okay, Zoom looks very weird when you're sharing your screen, so it's anyway.
No worries.
Let me see, where am I? There we go. Okay. So yeah, I'm Zenon. I'm in my 2nd year of environmental engineering at Carleton. And Adib asked me to speak because I've done a lot of travel in Asia, and I've done a few cycling trips and rock climbing trips. So if you're interested in climbing or cycling, I've also done a bunch of that and would love to chat about that. But I really wanted to focus on what it's like to travel abroad by yourself. So after high school, I spent 9 months by myself abroad. Staying by yourself seems like super lonely, but you're never really alone when you're traveling. There's lots of people and travelers with you to share stories. So I kind of just pieced together a lot of pictures from my trip, and hopefully if any of them kind of get your attention, maybe you have a question about it. So I wanted to start by just sharing like my purpose and outlook when I'm traveling, because I was going to, what's commonly known as the third world. I wasn't kind of going there just to really take advantage of the free, like the cheap food and the cheap hotels. And yeah, it's beautiful and it doesn't cost a lot of money. So I wanted to have like a good purpose and outlook on, what I was traveling for, and take it away from less traveling for myself, but traveling for learning, and kind of trying to figure out where different spaces in the world and what these different spaces look like. So this picture is from one of the main centers in Kathmandu in Nepal, where a lot of the hostels are and a lot of the chaos is, and you can just see like the density of people and people's livelihoods and the different types of economies, like people selling shirts and dishes and kind of like temple-y things. So just to get an idea of, what's out there. And then this like super graphic picture is from Cambodia. So hopefully you're familiar with the Cambodian genocide. So I traveled through Cambodia, and you got to kind of see the history of what the Khmer Rouge left on the country, not only on how the current like kind of vibe is of the country and like the people there, but the thousands of people who lost their lives because of the genocide that happened like not even too long ago. I believe it was in the 80s. So very much when our parents were at university, and so traveling to learn about these types of events. So yeah, a little bit about planning now. This is the gear I took. I traveled with just a carry-on because taking a checked luggage, as many of you know who have to like carry lots of stuff for these big camping trips, it's hell to check a bag on an airplane. So everything I took fit into my little backpack carry-on, and it got me through like cold in Nepal and hot in Thailand and everything else in between that I was doing. So the main purpose of my trip as well was kind of like this volunteering, and you can go a lot of different ways when you're volunteering. You can spend thousands of dollars with Habitat for Humanity, or there's a million organizations out there that'll ask for your money, and they'll be like, oh, go build this house, or go teach in this school. And those are all things that I did, granted, but I didn't pay a company to do them. So Workaway, which I've highlighted here, is like the best that I will vouch for over everything. That if you're traveling anywhere, at home, abroad, volunteer with Workaway. It is basically just a platform like Craigslist, but for hosts. So somebody will post what they're needing. So maybe somebody wants you to babysit their kids, or help on your permaculture farm, or teach English, or help maintain their garden, blah, blah, blah. They'll just post this volunteering position, and then you just contact them. Workaway is just the platform that allows hosts and volunteers to connect to each other. And it costs like $50 for the year. But once you pay like a one-time fee, you have endless communication with these different people. And volunteering ends up costing you no money. And you have this really personal experience with these grassroots nonprofits, and really meaningful experiences. The other ones I wanted to highlight was Couchsurfing. If you're not familiar with that is, it's like Airbnb, but free. So you're just, somebody posts like, hey, like I have an extra bedroom, or you can sleep on my couch when you're traveling. So when I went through China, I slept on some people's couches, and they got to show me around town. And then the other one, Alex talked about some of his mapping things, but for traveling, I wanted to highlight maps.me. If you're not familiar, it's like Google Maps, but it has more of like a shared approach to mapping. So say when I was traveling, you like see things on trails, or you see things when you're exploring that you want other people to see. So you can just pinpoint and add like a little activity on the map. So you'd be like, oh, like there's an abandoned barn here. So something you wouldn't see on Google Maps. And then when you're traveling, you can kind of go and see all of these new places. I wanted to highlight some of the places I went. So the first step was Nepal. I volunteered at this school, and super destitute conditions. People living on less than $1 a day, the classic story of poverty. And one of the projects that I wanted to work on beyond just teaching was we painted this like little fun mural on the wall, which looks kind of freaky, but it went from this very barren classroom with knocked up desks, and we bought like 2 cans of spray paint and mixed the colors together. And, now they have the solar system in their classroom, which is a big highlight for them. Also in Nepal, I went hiking. So there's some really big treks in Nepal. You can go to Everest Base Camp, the Annapurna Circuit, which is what I went on here. So I was hiking for 2 weeks, and it's not your classic like backcountry hike, but you go along these little tea houses. So there's little villages along the entire circuit, and you basically stay in these little remote communities and little like chalets, so to speak. So you don't have to bring any like camping gear. You can, and you can camp, but most people just go in these little tea houses. And so that was one experience. And I went by myself. but then you meet other travelers. So by the third day, I had met, there was like a group of 7 of us, all of us traveling by ourselves, and we ended up going through the pass of the trek all together, which was really fun. The second stop was Thailand. Here I was working on a farm, and we were also doing some construction to build a new barn. I'll talk about safety later, but we're working with cement and big machines. As you can see, like this guy here is not wearing any sandals. We're not wearing any shirts. This guy's not wearing any pants. So, safety abroad is a mixed bag, and you kind of just got to be ready for everything. This is food, another graphic image, but another big part about traveling and is food, and that's kind of like your little companion as well when you're traveling solo. I'm vegetarian, so all of these pictures are super unappealing to me, but I took them anyways because I think they're awesome. So most of these are from Thailand. The picture of the dog on the right is from Vietnam. And you'll see a lot of stuff, like not only food that's really crazy abroad, but a whole bunch of things. And when you're eating good food, which I have later, of a picture of like a big vegetarian spread, it's warming and gives you like a sense of home as well. The third stop was Malaysia. I volunteered on this boat. And this was actually an experience that was kind of a negative experience on Workaway. The lady who was my host on the boat, they were trying to retrofit this boat into like a hostel on water. So we were renovating it. And me and this other French dude had been tasked with like cleaning up the barracks, I think they're called, like the bottom of the boat. So we were stuck in this grungy, sulfur, egg smelling cavern all day. And she was actually like super rude to me, and I wasn't having like a super fun time. And I had promised her I would stay for a month and work with them. And then after a week, I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to continue my travel. And I left. And you have to kind of know when you're having fun and when you're not having fun. And you'll find more fun down the road. So sometimes waiting it out isn't always the best option. Here, I decided to leave. And then, I left Malaysia. I went through Singapore. I think that's on the map. Yeah. And then I took the ferry to Indonesia. At this point of my trip, I had taken like a couple planes, and I was kind of sick of taking planes. I was like, you know what? I want to travel a little bit more environmentally friendly. So I did a lot of hitchhiking, a lot of busing. And I found that there was this kind of commoner's ferry from Singapore to Indonesia, which was like 40 hours on the boat. And all I got served was like this little cup of rice for each meal. And I was just surviving in this dormitory at the bottom of the boat with all the other commoners. Nobody spoke English. And it was like a dormitory of 400 people just in their little slat of beds. So you can see everyone sleeping next to each other. That was a really fun experience. You obviously have to kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And you have to be comfortable with doing that. Otherwise it's not going to be fun, right? This is my fourth stop. I was in Indonesia, and this is after high school. So I'm like 19 years old, traveling by myself, and I find myself doing a workaway at this school, this English learning center. And I'm basically being carted around to these different high schools and different elementary schools, talking about traveling, talking about learning English and the importance of English. And we ended up at this high school where I was talking about and trying to inspire the youth to have a positive mindset and, doing new things and go on adventures. And they had posted this like brand new banner of me. So people do crazy things for you when you're traveling. And I'm not white. And when I'm abroad, like in Indonesia, I have like the same skin color as them, but they know that I'm a Westerner, and they think that's crazy too. So everyone still wants to take your picture. You're still treated like a celebrity. And you could even get a banner of yourself. So that's another picture of me at another school. And then, going back to the purpose and outlook of my trip, I got to go visit a sulfur mine, which was a fun, like off-route adventure. And here you get another little insight onto, you're traveling and you're having so much fun. You're a celebrity, but then it's important to learn about the conditions you're in. So I went into the sulfur mine, and you get to see the workers and kind of the conditions they're working in up close and personal. So you're given a gas mask, but nobody's wearing a gas mask who's working there. Within like 10 minutes of trying to go down into the crater, I'm already like wheezing, and I feel like this is the end for me. I like need to get out because it's just so toxic, and the gas mask is not working. But to give you an idea of kind of what I learned was, you take like this couple hours of walking up a steep volcano, and then you get to the top, and then you go into the crater and then down into the mine, which is super slippery and rocky, like everyone was falling, and it's super dark, and it's super hot in the bottom of the volcano, but then super cold outside. And then you have these gases burning your lungs, tearing up your eyes, you can't see. And now for them, the workers, you have to do that entire trip back with 80 kilos of sulfur on your back, which is that yellow rock. And then they get paid $5 for the 80 kilos. And to do all of that takes about a day, unless you're an expert, and then you can make 10 bucks. So it gives you a little insight. And that was really important to me to kind of learn, about what happens. And sulfur is used in like electronics and cars and automobiles and a whole range of things. Okay, so moving on, I stayed in lots of places, not only like workaway places, but also like hostels and Airbnbs and just anywhere I could find. So this is in Hong Kong. I met up with a friend, and we stayed in this like 2 meter by 2 meter room. This is our entire apartment. This is our double bed that opens up. I'm taking the picture from like the front door of the house, or the front door of the condo. And then this is our kitchen. And then behind the light switch is our bathroom. And then that's the entire place. So you get to experience these really fun places as well. And then I went to China, staying in a temple, kind of learning Tai Chi and Kung Fu. And I also got to take part in some of the renovations that they were doing in China, that they were doing at the temple. So this is me with like engaging in some of the manual labor that they were doing there. And then this is my big vegetarian spread, which was super awesome, that we would eat at the temple every day. And so yeah, food, amazing, delicious. And then I also like traveling and doing all this by myself. People always ask like, how much does it cost you? Like, as I said, there's so many places that will try, and it's like highway robbery to go volunteer abroad sometimes. But I ended up spending only like $7,000. It says 9 there, but that's including some garbage stuff that I included, like some things. But overall, my trip cost is like $7K for 8 months, which I don't know if you're paying rent or living alone, you know that a monthly total of $800 for October usually is significantly less than what you pay in monthly rent in Ottawa. So traveling can be cheap, and a lot of that is to do with volunteering and staying with families and giving back. The last thing was safety. So you encounter a lot of things when you're abroad, and obviously you kind of never know what to expect. And I brought malaria pills. I didn't take any of them. If I got malaria, I got malaria. I didn't, luckily, but shit happens. And yeah, you have to be, I guess, prepared to do it. There's good days and there's bad days. Then they have this little Steri pen at the bottom, which is basically a lot of the time when you're camping, you can do like a gravity filter or iodine pills or chlorine tablets or aqua tabs. And I didn't want to carry around like a bulky gravity filter or the tabs. So I had this little UV light, and basically you take your own Nalgene, and then you just take your tap water and you basically just stir the water, if you guys aren't familiar with it, for 30 seconds. And then your water is good to go. And I never got sick because of the water, because the water is pretty bad abroad and you do have to sterilize it. And the Steri pen was really great and a really environmentally friendly option as well, just because you don't have a lot of like disposable waste or anything. It was just like a little pen. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I ran through, there's so much to know when you're traveling, and like Adeep said, just go for it. I know some of you were more on the cautious side of plan, and I think my takeaway from all of this was more that you usually know a lot more than you think. So even though like stepping foot onto this one-way ticket plane ride, I felt like I knew nothing and I was going into like this abyss. There was actually a lot of background, like just me doing like little mini research, and it adds up, and you don't realize how much you know until you're there, and how confident you can be when you're positive, and when you're happy, confidence just appears. And yeah, I guess that's my main takeaway. So yeah, ask me questions if you guys have them, but it was really nice to hear the rest of you talk about some more stories closer to home, because after traveling for so long, I'm kind of excited to explore more of Canada, especially with COVID. You know, a lot of the things I did are not as special now with masks and stuff, but it is what it is.
That's so cool. Thanks, Zenon.
Yeah.
Like, it sounded like a tough but awesome trip, to be honest. All those pictures too. Zenon was the person who went winter camping, by the way, the other day. Story you posted. So
Yeah, you guys have some fun gear. Set around.
So you're on the way to start multi-day solo trips in Canada.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we'll open the floor up so you can ask us questions, or, you know, ask us for resources or anything. Go for it.
I have a question for Zenon. I'm also veggie. How did you find that when traveling abroad?
For sure, yeah. Asia is really accommodating. So like Nepal, Thailand, you know, there's a lot of Buddhism, Hinduism, a lot of religion that just makes it super easy. So there's already words in the languages that are just like how to say I'm veggie or I don't eat meat. And people are usually pretty good about it. But yeah, I mean, I've been vegetarian my whole life. So the idea of putting meat in me is like taking a cheat day just because it feels impossible to find a veggie option, like isn't great. But say if I was getting a pad thai in Thailand, you know, most things have oyster sauce in it, and I wasn't gonna, you know, fight with the street lady who's serving me 25-cent food about, you know, switching out for an alternative oyster sauce. I was just like, thank you so much. But so there's like that little component. But yeah, just learning a little bit about the language, and yeah, bulking up. I did a lot of like, I eat a lot of breakfast and then kind of run empty as long as I can until I find some good food, and always having granola bars in your back pocket just in case, because sometimes you do run into those situations.
Right on.
Well, yeah, like if anybody has any like specific questions, anything you'd want to do this summer, obviously there's a lot of experience here. It's pretty wide range. So yeah, go for it.
Go for it. It's way easier than doing it online. Or like, this is online, but I mean texting or email.
Sure. I have another question for more of a backcountry. In Ontario, there's like, as a preamble, there's your Crown Land Atlas, so you can see where you could go like Crown Land camping for free, which is a really great resource. Has anyone camped in Quebec and kind of explored their public use rules? And if there's a resource on how to find something that's not the CPAC or organized parks, like if you know what, you know what I'm saying? Anyone?
Yeah.
I have not ventured into Quebec, so at least not for any like serious camping. So I don't have any information for you, unfortunately. I don't know if anyone else has tried that out there.
I've been camping in the Forêt Waro, which is kind of out in the like the Tremblant direction, but I'm not totally sure. But I wasn't the one who booked the site there, but I just Googled it, and it looks like there's a network of like regional parks in Quebec that you could check as well, which I guess is their version of, actually no, because their national parks are provincial parks, so a level below provincial parks, national parks.
Like municipal ones. I don't have any direct experience as well, but you know, there's these areas in Ontario that you can camp at, but they're not provincial parks or not national parks. But yeah, Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah. I have done a little bit of camping in Quebec, and their system is kind of similar to ours. I don't know much about the Crown Land idea, but their like our provincial park is called a national park in Quebec. So they call it a SEPAC, SEQUP, I think, SEPAC or PUQ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like you can book it just like a provincial site that we have. But for Crown Land in Quebec, I don't know. So
Cool. Yeah. No. Or like, I was looking more for alternatives because Crown Land close to Ottawa is like a decent drive away versus you got some nice, like close Quebec is a lot of green. Does anyone have any Crown Land in the area of Ottawa? I just hate booking camping sites. I'd like kind of just like showing up to the backcountry. It's also free.
yeah, there's a lot of Crown Land in the Renfrew County.
Yeah.
So like you take kind of like southwest of Calabogie. There's a lot of like off-road trails that you can go camping. I've been to a couple. So
cool. Yeah, we were in Griffith, which is like the Lower Madawaska Trail.
Yeah, exactly. That area.
But I was wondering if there's like any other direction maybe we could go. Yeah, Bogey is a nice area.
Yeah. Other than that Lower Madawaska, like around Black Donald Lake, around I'm trying to get the name of the lakes, but if you text me on Facebook, I can get you some more. So
sure.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say there's one in Quebec that I heard of. I was just trying to find it. It's called La Réserve Faunique, La Vérandrie. That's apparently different from one of the SEPACs. I'll just copy the information in the chat, but apparently you don't have to book a campsite. You can just show up, and it's pretty
cool.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that most, you can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure most provincial parks in Ontario, they say that you can camp anywhere you want, but it's recommended that you stay on the campsites. Pretty sure it's the case for Algonquin. I have the poster like with a big map. I'll double check and let you know. Yeah, for some of them you have to stick to the tent site, but for some of them it says that camping on different part of the park is allowed or not. Yeah, I can double check
It
on
has
that.
to be
I'll let you
mostly
know.
about the fire pits because you're not allowed to start a fire anywhere that's not in like a pre-planned sand fire pit, but you can usually camp anywhere else.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, if you're continuing this conversation.
After Matt, are all of the entrances into Algonquin, are they all like gatehouse entrances, or can you access the park kind of outside the park district?
No, they're not all gatehouse. So Algonquin Park basically has two main like thoroughfares through it. You can come in through the east gate or the west gate, and those are along Highway 60, and they're really well traveled. It's not sort of like a stop and go situation. You don't get stopped when you come to the gate. You just drive right through. It's just that there's an availability to go and get permits there if you want. But that being said, I think there's 35 different access points in the park that you can just drive up to. So you'll find that because it's so big, there's just roads going around the edge of it that you can just pretty much enter it from, I think, pretty close to 35 lakes. So yeah.
Cool, thanks.
It's more about parking permits at that point, but yeah.
I have a question for Matt again, for Algonquin. Are the forest roads open for public use or no?
Do you mean the forest, like the logging roads, or?
Yeah, because I'm looking to do some like car camping, um, so drive up spots and things like that. But uh, ideally away from the main roads, but I don't know if the logging roads are open for public use.
So usually I think the answer to that is no. I think that there's logging roads and then there's roads that are used by loggers. So generally you can't drive your car anywhere in Algonquin Park except for on the main Highway 60 corridor or like in and around the entrances to different lakes. But I know from my own experience that I had to get somewhere and I took a logging road and I didn't get stopped. I don't know if I would want to be there overnight with my car because I think you'd probably get in a bit of trouble for that. But also, they're not always the best conditions. They're driving these gigantic trucks through them, and I took a smaller car and it was bottoming out on most things. But
Well, I was looking to do some light off-roading too, so I thought that'd be a good like a good way to do it. But are there any like I guess off-roady type of open use roads in Algonquin Park, or do you have to get off of park property?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think it's there's a big off-roading scene there. I know that along the Highway 60 corridor, there are some longer roads to get to lakes, though. For example, I drove Rock Lake Road, which some of you might be familiar with, which is a gravel track. It's about 5 kilometers. And that one, I guess, could be considered a little bit more off-road. So there's a lot of those situations where it's like to get to a destination, but I don't think you'd be able to camp along them, unfortunately. That's the only thing.
I'm also like, I'm currently located in Bowmanville, so like east of Toronto, and like north of us, there's a ton of crown land. So, and there's also a lot of like what we call unassumed roads, at least in this sort of general area. So for that kind of stuff that you're doing, if you were, you'd have to ask the right person, I think. But if you were to find like an unassumed road that goes into crown land that like government uses, you can camp there and there would be some pretty good off-roading. So that's might be an option for you.
With crown land, do I just search up like Ontario crown land map or something and it'll come up?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never personally looked up like a specific map to show all the crown land. I just know where it is in sort of my general area. I'm not sure if anyone else has like seen a physical map with it all laid out. I'm sure it exists though.
Well, I guess just the term crown land is all of it except the privately owned land. So
Are they marked though? That's I don't know if they're marked.
That's the link I put in the chat is the Ontario Crown Land Index. You'd be surprised how much is actually privately owned, like especially in Southern Ontario, but it's really fun and you can go and see, you know, what's a provincial park or what's a conservation area. And yeah, everything I think that's yellow is basically free game.
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay.
thanks, Zenon. Emma, I knew you had a question, so go for it.
Yeah. This is actually for Erica. I know you hadn't talked, but you said that you were in the Czech Republic. So I was wondering if you had done any sort of adventuring in Europe and if you have any tips about that.
Yeah, really the only solo trip that I've been on is I went to go see a concert in Munich last year. And that was just like an overnight. I took the train in the afternoon. Bye, Madeline. It was nice to see you. Yeah, I took the train out and then I, took it back the next morning. But I have done a lot of traveling around Europe. I've been to the Alps in several countries and stuff. Were you looking for any like specific tips or anything?
Just like anything that, because since you've been there and you've traveled and you kind of experienced it, if you have any like things that you wish you would have known before you got you went, you know? It doesn't have to be anything specific or any routes that you did. I just anything general.
Yeah, Europe has the whole tourist thing pretty dialed in. And coming, you know, from Prague, which is just even in my lifetime, it's become so touristified. I kind of put in a lot of effort to not see the touristy parts of things. I mean, yeah, like, you know, you tick off the Eiffel Tower and the Notre Dame, and then you kind of move on. I think there's real value to trying to kind of discover more of a place. But it's kind of difficult to do because that's kind of what everybody is doing. So even Airbnbs and things are now starting to become like the tourist thing. But I think I had a friend who was an exchange student at Carleton back in my first year, and she was really into the whole couch surfing thing. So I think if you kind of do some research into these more alternative things, especially like what Zenon was talking about, I think you can find some really interesting things there. Yeah, like as for general tips, I think there's real value in checking out maybe the lesser visited countries and even cities in countries. So probably the most mind-blowing place I've been in Europe is Slovenia. And I've been wanting to go back ever since I went. And it was like, the mountains there are absolutely incredible. Dare I say, better than from my hometown in BC. Almost, not quite, but almost.
Whoa.
Yeah. And yeah, like check out, like Slovakia has amazing mountains. The Czech Republic, as I've been discovering over the last few months, also has some pretty cool nature things going on. But yeah, like really try and like just explore on Google Maps and see what you can find. There's a lot to be found out there, and trains are your best friend. They're easy, they're fun, and they're cheap, and they go everywhere in Europe.
Perfect, thank you.
Steve, I have a question for you. I don't know if it's a question for you or for whoever the exec is, but
Let's
can I
hear it.
rent gear?
From us?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends what you want. For winter gear, we only have snowshoes.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm thinking about like tents or sleeping bags and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just if you didn't renew your membership last year, just do it this year, and you definitely can.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so anybody who has access to our memberships, or who has paid our membership rather, which is $10 a year, you basically can access our supply. You just have to give us some notice, and we don't have necessarily the highest quality of equipment, but we have stuff that'll get you out there for sure. So
yeah.
And do I just email or do I message someone?
You can DM us on Instagram, or you can send us a message on Facebook. There's a few, or you can also email us. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions, folks? I hope it was like a good info session that can get you out there in the next few weeks, months. I'll just end it before you go. We'll do a little something. Just, you all deserved, you all made it out. I gotta give you something back. All the information. But can you see the spinny wheel thing? Yeah. Should I put, did I put exec's name on it?
No.
I'll just let them all win.
You don't get free stuff.
Okay, and Madeline and Olava left, but just a few minutes ago, so I put their names in. So we have like a few prizes, and they'll like a value of $20. We want to do it like based on what you need to get you out there solo. One of them is a gift card, but for the others, we'll get in contact with you if you want, and we'll figure something out based on where you are too. So we'll do 3 winners. First one is for $20 Bashtuka gift card. Three prizes and 8 people. All right, so Alava won the gift card. We'll do 2 more. This is $20 undeclared because just didn't plan it yet. Alava can't win again. Ugh. Emma. Congrats, Emma. $20 in the pockets. All right, one more. You know what? I'll take it there. Make the. What was it? Lava. Got. One more $20 undeclared. Matt, the 2 people who are not here just won. All right, well, congrats to those who won and who are not here as well. We'll get in contact with all 3 of them. And yeah. Any final
That's
notes?
exciting.
From...
I love everything.
Yeah, congrats. Well, you got to spend it on gear, so that's why we want to do like $20 for like an outdoor shop or something. Any final notes before we wrap up? This is the awkward moment every time.
I really appreciate you guys coming out for this kind of stuff, though. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, hit up any one of our exec team on socials, and we will get back to you for sure.
Yeah, if you're going out west again, let me know, and Emily probably too. She might be out there too. Algonquin, Matt.
Oh, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Europe, Erica. All right, folks. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for putting it on.
You're welcome.
Thanks so
Emma.
much, guys.
You're welcome,
Bye.
Smiley. Bye.
Thanks, guys.